Hello, beautiful souls. This video is specifically for reflectors. And if you're involved with a reflector as well, it may be handy to know. So feel free to share if any of you resonate to, I guess, explain a little bit about how you work. And yeah, what I wanted to highlight in this video is something that I've brought to the awareness before. And what happens is, as most of us, how we work, we learn through experience. And as a storyteller, I have the desire for expression in this way. So what I wanted to cover is the power of being connected with another reflector. And when I mean being connected, I mean in a healing sense. So, as many of you may already have other people in your life and journeying through your own shadow work, the power of being seen and working with a reflector in this field as a reflector is, I believe, 10 times more powerful than just working with any other design. And I want to explain why. Because as a reflector, nobody actually sees you. And it can be a very annoying or difficult journey until we are really solid about who we truly are. Because until we have enough on board, people are going to people are going to respond to their own reflection. And this means anyone, even in the healing sense, is never going to quite grasp or we won't feel received or seen unless we are with somebody that's a reflector, because they then are reflecting us back to them, back to ourselves. So healing, shadow work, all of these things are perfectly done with others, in group settings, in alone, with anyone, right? But the power in working with a reflector as a reflector is beyond anything else. And what I realized the most as I went yesterday for the second time to work with someone who's a reflector was that he got it. He didn't kind of get it. He didn't offer some assistance and then it kind of resonated, or I had to figure it out, or, had to process how it was relevant. He actually got it. And everything that he said back to me sparked in me. And it was interesting because it was almost like witnessing our own power, because he was obviously reflecting me to me and I was reflecting him to him. But it's the only way I have found for us to truly be seen. Now, I have another friend who is journeying through her awakening into what being a reflector is, but she's not solid enough in herself to actually realize that her environment and who she's around is affecting her in the way of feeling like that's who she's got to be, or that's what she's supposed to be. Because it's very, very powerful before we are at the stage of knowing and having enough on board that we know in our heart and in our soul and in our body what exactly our journey is. And it's not like anybody else's, even another reflector. It's always going to happen differently. And, if anyone watching this that isn't a reflector, of course, all of the things we will ever say, and this is for reflectors too, all of the things we will ever say, people will think that they get it. They will be like, oh, that's like me. Oh, we're on the same thing. Because they're just seeing themselves. And then have you ever had people say to you, oh, I think I might be a reflector? It's because they're seeing themselves in what you're expressing. And they start to go, wow, you're like so the same as me. It's like, no, you're just seeing you. It cracks me up sometimes because it's been quite the journey. And when I first found out I was a reflector, I was so worried about my ego grasping the whole you're 1% of the population thing that I tried to push it away. But honestly, you can't ignore it. And embracing being a reflector and then going through the journey of uncovering who you are and what your actual superpower is can be so highlighted by working with another reflector, because it is immense to witness what we do in reflection. The way that somebody feels seen and received is unlike anything else. And when we can have that for ourselves, it's almost like having a glimpse of what we actually do for the first time. So obviously, I work with other reflectors. So if anyone is needing a reflector to connect with, reach out. And my all of the details are in the description, how to contact me. And if you want to work together, let's work together. I do all of the shamanic trained, Reiki master, all of the things, right? But really, the connection to spirit is what I go by. That's why it's Jodie Parry Intuitive, because there's no one way, and every single one of us is so different that it is truly being a channel for spirit and accessing the Akashic. That's how all of this stuff comes through, because when I sit down for a session, they're all different. I can't say that I'm a shamanic healer, because to me, that's a box. It's like, this is how I was trained, but there's so much more than that. And it's like Reiki master. I'm like, I was trained, but there's so much more that we have access to now. Back in the day, it was very much taught a certain way, because that was the only way that we could access these higher energies or access this healing ability. But now, with the evolution of soul, spirit, consciousness, the planet, everyone, everyone, conscious or not conscious, it has just turned up the ability within us innately and activated all of these skills within us. And that's part of what I do too, working with other healers who are designed to be healers. But when I say healer, this is another thing that as a reflector, we really need to be aware of, that our ability to heal can be purely in our reflection. Because we have the ability, when we become solid enough in our own knowing, we have the ability to see the God self in every single person and reflect it back to them. And when we're doing this in awareness of this is what I'm actively doing, the life-changing opportunity and experiences that people can go through is phenomenal. I've seen it in group work. I've seen it on one-on-ones. And people have no idea, but for the first time, they get to see what's really inside them. And it's magnificent. Once we can access and see the God self in somebody else, it also comes with lessons of discernment. Because we have the ability to see and access the God self, we can also respond to this person as if they were this God self. And of course, innately they are. However, they have many, many distortions usually in their field that are not allowing them to access this part of themselves. So unless we have boundaries that are really strong, energetic, of course, but even personal boundaries, we can get swept up and almost, what's the word? Not weakened. But because we have this ability to see them in their true self, in their God self, we can, I guess, almost give people a bit of a hall pass and be like, oh, I know who they are, and I know they mean well. I know that's their wounding. I know this. But we need to be the number one priority on this journey, and we need to know who we are. And that involves doing our healing work. That involves facing our shadow and integrating it. And quite often our shadow holds so much of our energy, and it's what we're rejecting away that's hiding in there. To be seen and illuminated by another reflector working in healing space is the ability to illuminate that and also actually receive the awareness and the visual, if you're a visual person, or the feeling, the auditory, whatever your senses are, whatever your gifts are, able to access what our true God self feels like. And it's like nothing else. So there's lots of stuff in this video. If you are with a reflector, this is the kind of thing that they're going through. They don't feel completely seen. Their whole role here on this earth, apart from being this divine reflection to people in order for them to see and experience the truth of who they really are, is to get to know who they are. Because nobody, and it doesn't matter how hard you try, you never really see them. And all we can have is this love and respect and honor for this 1% of the population that is truly, truly gifted, as we all are, but really has this divine gift. And when it comes to awareness and understanding, if you are in relationship with a reflector, it's a really, really important thing to know that to not be seen and received is big. And it can be painful and it can be tiring, and energetically, you know, we're not making this shit up. It is tiring. And the amount of times I let people's energy in when it's not appropriate. It's just like discernment after discernment after discernment, and cutting and clearing constantly and making sure that we can come back to us so we can be us, because it's not a choice. We get to learn how. But I believe the way my experience is going is it's becoming more and more solid in who you are, and then you get to know what you're not because you feel it. I hope this helps. Thank you.